You know, these are called patterns because they keep coming up in books, but let's look close at those things and see what they actually do. So that's you guys, and this is what I'm talking about. I'm just asking you guys today, what do you notice when I show some writing? This is some writing from a real book by Kate DiCamillo, and she writes the Mercy Watson book. Some of you guys are smiling. Yeah, I was hoping some people would say, I know those. And if you haven't read one, I wouldn't be surprised if a teacher has read one to you. And we have a book bin back there that has Mercy Watson books. But I think a lot of last year's second graders packed them into their bags because there's not that many there. But this is taken out of a Mercy Watson book, all right? And I want you guys to take some time, and this is when I just get to sit back and let you guys take your time. What do you notice, don't worry about that, about this? Just think in your head at first. Let's do some looking first, and I'll wait for you guys to look long and hard. Now I'll let you share with your carpet neighbors some of the things you're noticing, and then we're gonna get those out into the whole group soon. Okay, so turn to your neighbor and say, when I look at this, I notice these patterns coming up.
Uppercase and some lowercase.
You guys can turn it as a group right here, Breeway and Fez, and then you two can turn it.
There's like some uppercase.
What are you guys noticing up there about that? Okay. What are you guys noticing? Oh, okay, good. Yeah, it's worth noticing. What do you guys see? What are some things you see and notice?
What? Yeah, you think?
That is now.
What about you guys? What are some things you notice?
So we'll keep talking about it. 5 and 4. Think if you missed anything. There's some new things coming. 3, 2. That was really good. It was really good. I heard a lot of good talk out there. You were looking, talking, agreeing, and maybe some of you guys found some things that you noticed and then you found more after you talked together. So let's share some things out. What did you guys notice about this writing? And this is good writing. This is not something that has any mistakes in it. This is all done right. That's what we want to pay attention to. What did you guys talk about, Danny? Oh, so they're talking about what they have. There's a pig, yeah. What else? Ada, what'd you guys notice?
Pig's name is Mercy.
Okay. Name Mercy.
There's a Mr. and Mrs.
Jace?
There's uppercase and lowercase.
I heard a lot of that. And sometimes we call them capital letters or just small letters. But yeah, I heard a lot of people saying there's uppercases, there's lower cases. That's really happening a lot in this sentence. What else?
There's panda.
Anybody else talk about that too? There's periods. There's periods. All right. Anything else? I want to give plenty of time for you guys to tell me more. Maddie, anything else?
Actually, I see it on what do you notice? A question.
Oh, and then up here, yeah, she said she noticed the different question mark. Okay, so thinking about periods. But when I say that to you guys, and I'll just maybe do this instead, is in the highlighted space is what I'm really asking you guys to zoom your eyes in on. Well, I'll stop your shares right there, okay? And a couple big things that I think came up were there's lots of capitals, or you guys said, I heard uppercase letters, okay? And there's a lot of periods too, all right? I want you guys to think about those couple of things and then what they do. Like, what's the job or the function of, let's talk about, and I'm just gonna erase this so you know that now we're talking about that. What's the job of the capital letters that you guys are seeing? They're taller, and you notice them, and there's a lot of them. What do they do when you're reading it? Do they tell you anything? I mean, they're different than the other letters. What do they tell you?
Well, really, I know something. They actually, at every name, Mr., Mrs., well, yeah, like Mr., Mrs., Watson, Mercy, those are all names.
Okay, so the capitals tell us that their names, and she said Mr., Mrs., those are important titles. Their Watson is even a name, right? It's their last name. And look at this, Mercy is a name. So what's that tell us about capital letters? They use them for, what did Maddie say? We use capital letters and it tells us that that is a name. Okay.
Does anybody have questions about the Mr. and Mrs.? I heard Maddie say that's part of a name. Does anybody wonder about that?
I'm gonna write
Have
those down
questions
by
about that?
themselves. Mr. capital. Mrs. yes with a capital. Are those names, or do you have any thoughts that goes with those?
Mr. and Mrs. are names.
Their names?
What if I did? What if I showed you guys
Mr.
an example of another one that kind of reminds me of this? What if that showed up?
Doctor.
What do you notice about that?
Doctor.
That's he knows that means doctor. Did you guys? A lot of you guys notice that? Is that a name?
Yeah. No. No, I said Dr.
It's a job. Okay. It's like a job title. Okay. Is being a Mr. or Mrs. a job?
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be a girl or a boy.
Okay. Well, and it is somebody that you respect. It's like somebody's title, right? Okay. So titles, maybe names and titles of
Mr. John.
people.
Hmm.
When you say these names, does it change the way you hear it when you read it aloud? Not really. Okay. What about the other thing? I want you guys so capitals. What does a capital do when we read it out? When we do it out? You guys said uppercase. I'll use your words. What does an uppercase do when we read it aloud? Does it change anything for the way you hear things in a sentence? What does it do though when you see it? What does an uppercase letter, what does it do when you see it? What does it tell you?
That's the name or the starting of sentence.
Oh, good. That's another pattern. It's always at the start of the sentence. It tells us we're at the beginning, or, like we're noticing here, that it's a name. Does it even get capitalized, or is an uppercase even used if it's an animal's name?
No. Oh, I mean, yeah.
Pig. Somebody mentioned pig. Name Mercy. So, okay. All right. I just want to, you guys noticed another really good thing. So I'm just going to put that here next. What does, you guys talked about a period. What does a period do when we read it out loud? Does that do anything?
It means stop.
What were you going to say?
You have to stop at a period.
Okay, a period really does change the way that we're reading. Like when you hear yourself do that work or show that pattern, it tells you, does it have to tell you stop? Look at this one. And this one.
No.
Do you stop at those? So when does it tell you that you must stop? Here's another one. If you feel like what? What were you going to say? I almost called you Clara. It tells you have to stop, and somebody said if it's at the end of a sentence. Okay? If you see it, does it tell you other things then? So these, you guys said you don't stop at.
Gosh.
What's that tell you then?
It means that it's the end of the noun.
It means it's the end of somebody's title in their type of name. Okay, so you don't always stop at periods, but if it's at the end of a sentence, we do. Okay. All right, we're going to look at sentences this week, and we're even going to work with them by trying to create some of our own that follow these rules of capitals. We might even talk a little bit more about periods too, because they're really showing up in sentences sometimes more than once. So let's really focus on those things some more. And we'll look at some more sentences later this week. Do you have a question?
Yeah, but what if you don't know if it's a sentence? What if it's very short, like you don't, and it has like a period at the end?
Mm-hmm. Like right here and right here. You have to hear. Okay? Sometimes you see these things, and sometimes you have to, when you're reading, listen to yourself and say, I don't know if this is a sentence or not. Let me reread and think, does this seem like a good time to stop or not? Because do you want to stop here? Mr.
No,
and Mrs. That's not a complete thought, but Mr. and Mrs. Watson have a pig named Mercy. Stop. The pig likes a great deal of butter on its toast. Stop. I was just saying that because if you know Mercy, you know that probably going to see. Speaking of stopping, we're going to, since you guys had such good talks and such good eyes on this work, we're going to stop for today, and we're going to look at some sentences like that again tomorrow. We're going to keep really noticing the good things that authors do in these books and try to do it ourselves and try to notice it in other books all day long. Can you guys do that with me? It's going to be fun, okay?
Were
and
we
it won't
gonna
usually take this long.
give them the focus phrase today or not
today?
today?
The focus phrase? Okay, so I need to double check.